everyone.
Hey everybody.
Welcome back. It's getting, well, rainy.
It's raining.
It's getting rainy. But it's getting closer and closer to, yeah, you're right. What else is new? Yes.
For the past 6 months or so, it's been raining every few days. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
We're used
yucky.
to it.
Yeah. I mean, I like it, but I also don't like it. Trying to be diplomatic here. Yeah, I'm sorry, I got distracted. It's almost Halloween. Yeah. So we are, I think, a week and a half from it.
Yep.
Something like
Roughly.
that. Yeah. So what's going on? Well, this week I decorated my coffee bar to be a little bit spooky, almost like a witch's, what's the word I'm looking for? Witch's kitchen. Sure. But, or her lab or something, but whatever. Yeah. You get the idea. But anyway, we try to do that with our coffee bar. What's going on with that is we used pretty much free everything. The only thing we did purchase, and I'm looking at it as I'm talking, the only thing we did purchase is these plastic eyeballs at the Dollar Tree for a pack of them for $1.25. I just thought that kind of would be neat. We had some labels left over and some like marker pens, so we kind of made up little labels for them. And a little skull and crossbone thing. We don't like to go too creepy or scary. We never really went for that. And great, if you do, that's awesome. And I do like to see cool creations that people make. Just we're not in particular into that spooky stuff. So we kept it kind of cutesy, but with a little bit of spookiness. We also have older kids. When our kids were younger, we didn't really get into that either too much, I don't think. Right. We kind of stayed with that the whole time. So we finished that bar. I'm saying this is as we had already done it, so I'm going to show you that clip later. And then after that,
we do some organizing, I think,
yeah.
right? The armoire downstairs is in desperate need of organizing. It's gotten to the point where the doors won't shut all the way. I think this could be me probably.
I think it's the floor. I think the floor is a little uneven no matter how we try to fix it.
No,
the door,
because we're stuffing it too full.
Well, that part, yeah. I thought you meant the bottom door. There's a bottom door that if you remember from past episodes when we did the laundry room, we tried to fix it. We did. It looked great. Then we started putting things in it, and we moved it into position where we wanted it, and it started again. So we're pretty sure it's the floor. But yes, it was so stuffed.
Yeah, the door won't close. So anyways, we're going to reorganize that this week. Maybe we'll get to the office, which is kind of a mess right now. We're going to organize that.
That's my hope. I'm hoping we can do that. We generally try to keep the videos nowadays. We used to make very long videos, so we're trying to make our videos a little bit shorter. It's hard to do because it's a lot to put in a video sometimes. But
also trying to put less on ourselves every week.
Yeah.
We get tired easier. And also you're doing all the work nowadays, so.
Paul is doing stuff. He is helping us, but he still has to have his feet up. He can't stand for long periods of time due to his foot surgery. He's still healing from that. It's taking a little longer than we expected. It's very frustrating for you, I imagine.
It truly is, yeah.
Yes. Not for us. We're fine, and he is helping. He does a lot while sitting. A lot of the organizing. We're able to get certain things done that we normally wouldn't have. So the one plus about this, about him being home and not being able to stand and do certain things is, like we've said before, Jake and I are learning some cool skills, but also now that the weather's getting cooler, it's been raining a lot. What we're doing a lot now is doing things that we wouldn't have been normally doing, like organizing, and that kind of feels great. It's refreshing.
It is. It does feel good to get things organized. You know, if you've got a cluttery area in your house, it kind of gives you that uncomfortable feeling. You kind of wish it was nice and neat, and then once you do clean it up, it feels nice.
It does.
Yeah.
You know, we did purchase ahead of time. We did run to, well, that was at Walmart. I was going to say the Dollar Tree because we did do a Dollar Tree run. But yeah, Walmart, it was much cheaper. So what was a pack of they're like small totes that we could organize with?
Yeah, little plastic bins. I forget how much they were. Only it
wasn't even $10.
I spent less than $10 on
Yeah, so less than $10. We had the smaller size and the bigger size total. So we had some to organize in there. That's how we chose to organize. You can do baskets, and I do love baskets, but it would have added up to be pretty expensive. So, and we like certain things that have covers on them.
And this is a closed armoire, so you're not going to see them anyways. So
Right.
yeah.
So it didn't make sense. So this is great. It keeps a lot in there, so we're able to organize, which we had started, and then we just started piling things in there, and we saved everything, like boxes and envelopes and whatnot, and finally we're going to kind of rid ourselves of those
we're going
things.
to sort through and get rid of some stuff that we don't need.
So I don't know how you are in your life right now, what you're doing, but Paul and I are kind of at that point where we're ready to be more minimalistic. Not that we're going to live a full minimalistic lifestyle, but we're realizing that some things just aren't as important as they were maybe 20 years ago or so.
Getting rid of a lot of stuff that we're holding on to for no reason.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So this is, and you don't have to wait until the new year to start saying, oh, we'll start organizing and doing things better in our lives.
Do it when you're ready.
Yeah, and we're ready finally.
Yeah.
And this gave us something to do that we weren't necessarily thinking of, because
Right.
we had other projects lined up. We were, at this time, we thought Paul would be back, so we were thinking about redoing our picket fence.
Yeah.
We have a whole list of things to do on our itinerary for our YouTube videos, and we need to get those done as well. But we're going to actually hold off our picket fence until the spring, because Paul is taking a while to heal, and I know I am not capable of doing the fence by myself, and Paul really needs to be hands-on for that. And Jake's, our son, is not always available, so I think that's a project for the spring. And it's too bad, because it's definitely falling apart, but Paul is hopefully going to be able to, when he feels better before the snow falls, maybe he can help repair some of the pickets. And then we'll just kind of leave it as it is, and then come spring, we'll tackle it, I think. So this was kind of a fun episode for us, because we did some we're going to do some organized, but we did some decorating for Halloween. And again, we're not going too crazy. And then when that's done, we just scoop out some of the Halloween elements and we stick to the fall decor.
Yeah, all the stuff.
Yeah, and that stays until basically the day after Thanksgiving. We take everything down and start decorating for Christmas. So this is nice to just have, it kind of changes it up for that one season. So from October 1st to October 31st, I have it kind of Halloween-y. And again, we don't do a whole lot. And then we take that away and go back to our other decor. And sometimes I'll even move it around just to make it interesting. And I might even add an element here and there for Thanksgiving.
There you have it.
Organization week.
Yeah, so see what we can get done. Hopefully we can get it all done this week. And yeah.
Hope you're enjoying this beautiful rainy fall day. If you're getting that weather, maybe you're getting gorgeous sunshine. Hope you're enjoying your day. Like I said, we've already finished the coffee bar area, and I'll show you that soon. And then as you will see coming up in this episode too, we're going to do some organizing. And we're going to take it a week at a time, but we're going to kind of revise what we're doing. And we'll throw in some shorts along the way. We're starting to do that more now.
Yeah.
We started with one, and we hope you enjoyed it. But we thank you for joining us, and we hope that you'll keep joining us.
If you like this kind of content, give us a little thumbs up, give us a like, and send us a comment if you like, and subscribe.
Thanks for all of you new people who have joined us, and for all of those who've been with us since the beginning. Thanks for your support. We appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers. Hi everyone. So today I'm making poisoned apples. I have these wooden apples that I've had for a long time. They're getting faded. Some of the stems are starting to come off. Honestly, they're cute, but they need a little makeover. So if you have wooden apples like this, or even like, I suppose if you had maybe even a ball or something that you can make into an apple, you can do this. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to use some black paint, and I'm going to really goop it on. I want it to cover it, so I'll put it on lightly in some parts, but I'm going to have it dripping down from the top so it looks like it's all like this goopy, gooey, poisonous fluid dripping down. It's a little wobbly, which is okay. You might get a little paint on you. If you want to, you can opt to put on some gloves. Sometimes I wear them, sometimes. It doesn't bother me so much all the time. And I'm really going to just drip it down. And really goop it on. We want it to have those marks, those drip marks, because we want it to look like it's a poison apple just dripping with all kinds of sinister poison. So really what you need here is a plastic plate, not just paper. You could use paper, but the plastic is great because the paint will seep through sometimes. So I guess you could like triple it and do a paper plate, but I like the plastic plates because then it'll hold more. It won't drip through as much. But I also put down newspaper, and like I did the first time, I'm letting it really goop up on the top and just drizzle down. I have to admit, it looks kind of neat. I'll show you a close-up later. So those were more of a matte finish, more of a plain woods. This is a more shiny one, but we're going to give it a shot on this too and see how it holds up. I'm not going to sand it or anything because I'm just doing it for Halloween. Down the road, if I really like what I'm doing and I decide to keep it, I can sand it down and do it again properly. And this one I might goop on a little bit more as it's shinier so I can make sure it's really staying on there. Now this one in particular has a stem, so I'm just going to go around as much as I can. You can tape it if you like. And like before, even with the stem, just go carefully around the stem. I'm going to let it really drip down. It's pretty neat. What am I doing with this coffee? Well, we're going to find out. I'm not drinking it, although it smells delicious. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour some of this coffee into a plastic plate. My husband's having a heart attack right now that I'm wasting coffee. But I promise you it won't be a waste. And guess what? He gets to have the rest. Paul!
Do I smell coffee?
You do. There you go. I made you a cup of coffee.
Thank you, dear.
You're welcome. So the reason I did that is I have these little bottles here that I've collected. I save various bottles for various things. Sometimes I'll make a homemade whatever, or I will use the bottles for decorations. Sometimes I will bring something to someone's house and they don't have to worry about it giving it back because it's something I don't need to have. Sometimes I actually use them to store whatever, but today I have kept these bottles for a reason. This particular bottle was from a company that I usually have a subscription to, that I buy cleaning products and whatnot, and a lot of things come in glass. The sprayer wasn't operating well, so I kept the bottle. What would I use that? Well, I saved corks. Isn't that clever? Because now I can do this. I can put that on. It's going to be a really cool message in a bottle. And then I have these. I would get some of my drinks in these, some of my beverages. It's a tea that it comes in. And I took the labels off. Easy to come off. You can use WD-40. You can run it under cold and hot water, kind of go back and forth, and use a scraper and then clean it off with like a scrubby. This was fairly easy to come off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a different cover, and I'm going to put like a cool potion inside. This is for Halloween, these are. I'm not sure if I'm going to use this one yet, but this looked like a cute little nifty bottle. This was from a product I bought from the grocery store and I kept it. However, I am going to do something with the cover as well, and it's more of a plastic. This glass one, what's neat about this, I'm not actually going to use this cover. I saved this from a candle and it looked like a really cool cover, and it happens to fit this jar, so I'm very excited. So I'm going to make some cool Halloween type things. This sprayer, the same thing, same company. Their sprayers aren't the best, but this particular sprayer is going to come out, and I'm going to use because I love the amber bottle. So I'm going to use these and do some cool stuff with it. I have some paper where we're going to write our messages, and what we're going to do is just kind of tear a little bit on each end, just kind of move it around so it looks old and torn. I'm going to roll into like a little cylinder shape And we're going to, in the coffee, dip the edges. First that side, and you can kind of dab it dry, and then the other side. So it'll have it like an antique, older feel. Make sure all those drips are out, and then I'm going to return it, and we'll leave that to dry. I'm going to do a few of those. We're going to make it look like an ancient spell. The reason I redo it after is to make sure it's nice and tight. I think I'm going to do 3. I need that to dry for a while. I'm going to put this aside or something else later, so we will use all the coffee. So now we're getting to the bottles here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to decorate these caps. We don't want white caps. We don't want it to look like a juice, but I like the shape of these bottles. It looks like something we could make a clever little apothecary potion bottle out of. So while those are drying, I'm going to let it sit with me and decide if that's what I'm going to do. Not quite sure yet, but that is an option. So then we have, what do we do for potions? Well, you can do all kinds of things. You can color water in here. You can put some kind of juice that you might have. You can also put herbs in there. You can put your tea or your coffee, something that will look like it's some ancient potion inside there, even herbs. So we're going to give this a shot. I have some loose leaf Earl Grey tea. I'm just going to pour a little in here, just a little. And the great thing is with this is you can use it after if you're careful with it. We have just a little bit in there so it looks like we've been using it. So I started to think about my project here and I realized I want the whole thing to look aged. And I thought maybe that would be enough, but I think the white's going to show and it's going to look too new. So I'm going to dip back into this coffee and I'm going to really stain the whole thing. So just to help it dry a little bit, I'm going to kind of pat it and wipe it very carefully, because remembering it is paper. So we're going to be as careful as we can. But I kind of like that I dipped it on the edges first because it looks really worn. And then the rest of it has browned a bit. So we're going to do that with all of these. I'm just doing 3 pieces because we want enough to fit in. I've decided to use this plasticky one. I'm going to use that bottle, that jar, I should say. Maybe a bigger table would be better next time. But hopefully these will turn nice and brown and give it an authentic aged look. We're going to let it dry here. Every now and then I would advise to maybe pick them up and move them around so it doesn't stick to anything. But we'll let these dry for a little bit. All right, so while those are drying, I'm deciding what to do here. So I have one with my herbs and maybe one here. Maybe, what will I do here? So what I think I'm going to do is I have a little bit of cocoa here. I'm going to pour this in. With that cocoa, I'm going to add a little bit of water. And now we have a murky, interesting, muddy water. We'll have to think about what we're going to call it. So we'll leave that. So we have our herbs. We have our murky, chocolatey drink. I had an electrolyte beverage. And I added some water. I didn't put a whole bunch of it because I didn't want to waste it, but that looks like an interesting color for mine too. And I like filling it at different lengths because then it looks like we might have used some of them in different spells, different potions. What I'm going to do, even though they're not totally dry yet, I'm going to put the caps on these. It's okay if some of the paint comes off because I have a remedy for that. I'm not sure I want to keep that black cover there. So I have these leftover pieces of paper. I was thinking, so I didn't waste, how would I use this paper? So what I might do is dip it back into the coffee, and the paint will help it stick a little bit too. So between the paint and the coffee on there, this will help it stick a little, almost like a glue that helps it stick. And it makes it look a little more sinister and old. Check on our little scrolls here. They still have some drying to do. They're damp, but they still have drying to do. I'm going to flip it and move it around just so it doesn't stick. Check on our apples from earlier. They seem to be doing well. So I finished the apothecary potions. So what I did is I had these circle labels where they have adhesive on the other side. I'll be honest, folks, I don't actually remember where I got these. I just remember having these for something. So what I did is I drew on, always do it with pencil first, because if you make mistakes, which I do a lot, you can always go back. So what I did was I did look online for some ideas, and then I kind of ran with it. But so I found, instead of buying your own, which you could, if you have some sticky labels, you could probably find them at a Michael's or a Hobby Lobby, possibly a Dollar Tree maybe even. But anyway, so what I did was I have one that says basilisk venom, and I drew a coiled snake. Again, as you must know from other previous episodes, I'm not much of an artist of any kind, but aren't we all artists in our own way? But anyway, this is basilisk venom, and I made a skull and crossbones. Again, don't look too much. He's interesting, folks. Anyway, so what's in here? You kind of work with what you have in the house. If you have some sort of color dyes that you can use, like a food dye or something, go for it. Just add put in water and add a little bit of dye into it. I just added, it looks kind of like a murky, yucky water. I won't say what I think it looks like, but anyway, this is basically dark cocoa powder that I had laying around, and I added some water to it. And I didn't fill it all the way because I didn't want to waste a lot, but also I really want it to look like it's been used. The paper that I had when I was making the scrolls, I basically put it onto the wet painted cap so it stuck on, plus it was a little wet from the the coffee that I dipped it in, and I kind of wrapped it around, and I used a little raffia to wrap it even more. These will be thrown out when they're done. It would be nice to save for another year, but honestly, they're probably kind of gross to have laying around. But for this year, that was fun. For this one, I did not do a skull and crossbones because this is the elixir of life. So again, the basilisk venom and the elixir of life I had gotten, for example, for these sayings online that were already made labels, and I didn't feel like purchasing any. And like I said, I had these adhesive labels. So I did take the example of these. So basically that, same concept with the lid. And then I have, and this, by the way, is my electrolyte drink that I have. So it's a powder, and then I mixed it with water. And then here I had some Earl Grey tea, loose leaf tea. So, and it looks a little sinister, I'm going to be honest. And it was Paul's idea, because we were looking for an idea. This was his idea, but spider legs. And we drew a little spider, and I did the skull and crossbones again, because this tea up close actually does look like little spider legs. But this particular thing we'll be able to use again, so this tea. So it's not really wasteful. But again, it's just for a season. So those were my potions. And then we did the scrolls, if you remember me doing earlier. I probably would have liked to have dipped it a little more because it is a little white and a little black paint got on it. I'm not too upset because it makes it look a little older. We're going to do another thing with it, but I just put a little like beware on it. I tied it with some twine that I had, and then I have one here that I started to write. Basically, I drew some lines so it looks like there might be writing, and then if you were to unroll it a little bit, you would see a little bit of writing in there. And basically what I wrote is perform this at the stroke of midnight. So you have that. And I have another one, so we're going to work on that in a minute. Well, I guess right now I'm going to work on it. So it did turn a little, it's a little, crinkled up, and it did turn a little brownish, so it looks a little older, but we're going to have these ripped edges on the outer edges. So we're going to just turn this like a scroll, and I'm going to cut it. It doesn't matter the length, whatever you prefer. We're tying this up with the twine. Don't pull too hard, because you still want to keep its shape. I will double it just because I don't want it to come unraveled. So basically that. So I do have a little bit more of this coffee left, and I'm not sure if I'm going to roll it around a little bit, but first what I'm going to do is I'm going to burn the edges. Unfortunately, I don't have a lighter. That would probably do better, but be prepared, folks. So, if it gets a little bit crazy, you don't want to start a fire. So basically what I'm going to do is burn the edges so it looks more authentic and older. And I'm going to use the coffee to dip it and also put the fire up. So we'll get a little more brown and just use a rag nearby to kind of dry it out. And we want to do the other side, the other edges. Watch that flame so it doesn't start a fire and burn you. Putting that out. Again, a lighter would work better in this instance. You have better control of it. But be aware if you are using a match. So, and there we go. We have a nice old-fashioned scroll. If you want at one point, you can maybe dip it. I might, for this one, I might just dip it a little bit on the rest of it. So now it's really looking older. I really like the look of that. And this was that plastic container, and all I did was one of those adhesive labels. I just put spells on it. So now we have our little scroll of spells. For this, I don't want to take the credit for this because that would be unfair. I have to admit, I wish I could remember her. I did watch her on YouTube for the idea, and she had this great idea to make scrolls. So I'm essentially copying it, but I'm kind of doing it a little different in the sense that I have to work with the materials that I have, but it was a great idea. Little smokestack here. Oh, and I dropped my thing here, which is why, folks, you double. This one was not double knotted. So I'm going to double knot that one. I'm not sure why it's still smoking like a chimney stack here, but. And I'm just doing 3 because this is a small jar. We don't want to go crazy with too many of them, just to make a quick statement. Make sure before you put it in the jar that you're using, that you're really soaking the ends and making sure they're dry as well. Leave it open, but if you are going to close it, let it dry overnight so you don't have any mildew or mold. But also you really want to make sure that flame is out and the smoke is done before you place it in the jar. So there we go, there's our ancient scrolls. Now we have, I want to go back to what we were doing before. We have these apples. I was going to gloss these up because I really wanted that effect, and I'm still thinking about what I want to do, but I do have some dripping going on that dried on, and I'm really pleased with that because I really want it to look like it was dripping down, like a nice gooey poison was dripping down it. I guess the point is to be a little sneaky about it, and you don't want anyone to know it's poisonous. But I kind of like that it's a little obvious. So it kind of adds to the creepiness. So since I put the paint away and I really don't want to get the paint out again, I do have a couple of touch-ups. So I do have these paint markers, which, by the way, folks, these are all different kinds of tips. There's very, very thin tips all the way to a very thick marker, like thicker marker. And I did use that for my labels. They're really great. They're supposed to be like paint pens, but I think they're just markery pens. But I'm just basically going to touch up a little bit. But it's okay that a little bit is going through, because I want it to look like you can still see the original apple through, so you can see that it was poisoned. So then we have our apples, and I thought maybe I would add some little stems, more stems, because I have one and the others weren't there, but I think I kind of like it without. So I'm going to leave 3 poison apples there. The next thing to do is what to do with these. So what I'm going to do is it's getting later in the evening because I was waiting for these to dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait till tomorrow. I'm going to take a little trip down to the Dollar Tree. I really like this jar and that this fits it. And I like this with the little cork. And I might probably find, I'm going to look in my collection and see if I have a thinner cork. And what I'm going to do with all 3 bottles here is I'm thinking I'm going to get some creepy crawly little insects and maybe put them in these jars. So we'll take a trip down to Dollar Tree and see if I can find those. Maybe some spiders, maybe some, I don't know, creepy bugs, maybe some, bone parts. We'll see. They do sell all kinds of great things. And as you will see earlier too, we did a very simple craft with the branches from outside. If you're lucky enough to have a nice backyard or some woods behind you, grab some branches, spray paint them with black paint, leave some branches that are coming out from all over, maybe take the leaves off and spray them, and then you can lean them up in a corner. If you feel up to it, you want to put some bats on it, but if you're going to have them inside, a tip is to seal the branches a little bit. It may take a few days. That's it. We just wanted to add a few decorative touches. I think we're going to put it on our coffee bar, and I will show you tomorrow what I do with these bottles. Stay tuned. So I'm going to give you a quick view of preview of what's going on. So what we've done is I've put out, it's now at this time of year where I want to have cocoa and I want to have my coffees and special teas. We do keep our coffee pods in here, and we keep our teas, loose and bagged teas. And I keep like the hot cocoa up here and like the specialty teas and coffees, and even a bag to that. We have our coffee grinder, we have our French press. So we keep those things still. I'm still trying to find a better way to display them nicer, and I'm going to work on that through the years, maybe this year coming up. And then we have honey and sugar and cream, different order, sorry. So then here I have, if you can read it, because these are older labels that had things printed on it, so I kind of wanted to go over it. I'm not sure you can see it but they're supposed to say ogre's eyes, and then we have spider legs, and basically that's loose leaf tea in there. And I did have bits of moss from the Dollar Tree. I had bags of that, which I love my moss. So I have that around here and there to make it a little bit more spooky, I guess. And then we have basilisk venom, and we have elixir of life. So obviously if you need some help after these potions, you may need an elixir of life. On each of these I did a little skull and crossbones. These were empty, these were blank labels. So I was able to really get into it here. And some of them, like this one, I had to kind of go over what was already there. So it's hard to see. But these eyeballs were from the Dollar Tree for $1.25, a big bag of them. But this is the tea, the loose tea. This basically is the cocoa that I have, the Dutch dark cocoa, and I put water in and I kind of shook it up, and it looks kind of swampy, and it looks like a basilisk venom. This elixir of life is basically my electrolyte drink. It's a powder, and I mix it with water and I shook it up, and there we go there. And then I have here, I always get fresh ginger. I make a nice ginger tea that's really lovely for, I have an autoimmune disorder, so what I use to help heal the gut a lot is fresh ginger root, and I will peel and chop that into a few pieces, and I will put a teaspoon of honey in with it and the hot water, and it makes a lovely ginger tea. You can even throw some lemon in there too to make it a little more elaborate. So I had put all these pieces of ginger. What's great about fresh ginger for Halloween is they're kind of funky. They kind of have unique shapes. So we put it in this vase and made a label for it called Goblin's Feet, if you can see that. Again, one of the labels I had to go over. So then I had an old amber bottle that I had on hand. I didn't put anything in this, but I thought it looked kind of neat, like a potion bottle. And then we have one here is a bottle where this was actually a soap container, and instead of which this had kind of malfunctioned, the little pump, so I decided to find an old wine cork, because I do save them, and this was one that I caught, and I went over the label a little bit that was already printed on, but I put tarantula's venom, so hopefully you can see that well. These were like these wooden apples I had that were red, and I painted them black. I wanted them shiny at first and then decided to go with a more matte, but they're shiny enough. I like them. So these are like the poison apple. And then I have a container here. This is actually plastic, this particular one. I have mostly glass, but this was a plastic one. And I said spells. And I rolled these up like old scrolls, and I used tea to stain them to look older, and burned the edges so it looked like it had been an old scroll. Took a little twine and rolled them up, and then there's a little bit of writing inside. I tried to show a little on the edges for the spell, which was fun. You can have a fun time with that. So there it is. And it was a lot of fun. It was just a simple thing to do, but it is a little cluttered, I've noticed, and I'm really trying to find a way to hide the cords. This is something that I'm going to be working on in the year to come. But there it is. You can have a lot of fun with this type of stuff. So today I'm going to do kind of like I'm going to do grasses. I'm going to let them dry out, which I've done for the past few years. It's kind of like people do with the corn stalks. I love the idea of that, but corn stalks are getting really pricey. I don't have access to getting free ones because I don't have them growing on our property. I don't know anyone who has a farm personally, so I would have to pay for them, and they are quite pricey. They used to be like $5 a bunch or less, and now they're getting really expensive. So our solution is we grow a lot of ornamental grasses on our property, and we have these beautiful fronds that grow at the top of it, and they get this really lovely purpley color. You've seen them around our property and other videos. If you haven't, you can see them. If you go back to some videos, you'll be able to see them. I have this white twine. I'm going to try to get it not as visible because it is white. It's not a natural color. My go-to would have been to do more natural color, but this is what we had on hand. I'm going to tie a bunch of grasses that we had, some in our secret garden. We had some near our pool area, walkway. So it's a bunch of different grasses, and I left one up because you want to leave some interest for the birds. But this particular bunch, we had grouped it all together, and I want to leave it as a whole. It's going to leave a beautiful little decorative touch for the front door area, the patio area. It's going to really make it look, kind of finish it off and come together with our fall setup. So I'm going to try to tie this all together now as thick as I can, and I'm going to end up tying it to the front patio. Paul hasn't been able to help with a lot of things because he's been recovering, but he's able to slowly get back to some things. So one of his first projects back is him helping me tie this to the front doorway. Paul's behind the camera now. Are you ready, Paul?
I'm ready.
For your first big project in a long time?
I'm ready.
So, okay, so I'm going to put them all together first, and then he's going to help me attach it to the front door area. Okay, so I'm going to gather these pieces all together. Put the rope underneath, and I'm going to just keep letting it kind of unwind. I'm going to try to get as close to the middle as I can, but also towards the bottom. And another thing is I'm going to make sure all these bottoms are kind of lined up a bit as best I can. Some will be a little shorter than others, but that's okay. Let this go a little bit longer because I'm going to loop it around a couple times. This is not a super thick cord. If you have an even thicker cord, you could probably just do it once or twice if you want. This is just to give me a little more stability. Pull. Meet in the middle and pull it back around. I'm even going to do it a third time because this is a very thin cord. So as I'm saying this, it just broke, but it's okay because I think I have enough to tie it to. And basically what I'm going to do is just be not too tight as I was doing it, but I'm going to pull as much as I can without snapping it again. And I'm going to make it into like a triple knot. All right. Then that little excess hanging, I'm just going to clip it so there's still enough there. Here we have our pretty grasses, and it looks like, or it's not a corn stalk, but it looks really, really clever. It's a great solution to have that feel. I have a lot of grasses on our property, so I'm able to do this. If I just had one or two, I'd probably want to leave interest for the birds. But because I have a lot, and believe me, if you have a couple on your property, you will have to cut them back and thin them out. To do that, you're going to end up with way more grasses than you think, and they really do take off every couple of years, and we always have to thin them out every 2 to 3 years. So in time, if you really like your grasses, you can start doing this because you'll have a lot on your property. So we're going to go hang it up. So the grasses here are as close to the house as I could and the rail post because we have a very small stairway. So we got it as close to the house and to the stair rail as we possibly could and tied another triple cord around the whole grasses standing there. And I just arranged my pumpkins as best I could. What's great about these pumpkins, folks, is I usually love visiting our local farm, and it's a great option to support your local businesses. However, it is very, very pricey, and with inflation it's getting even more expensive. So I wanted to just point out that these orange pumpkins, which I may or may not keep orange, but for now I'm going to keep them. I'm not a big orange fan, but these particular orange pumpkins were all for right under $4 each at Aldi's, and that greenish one was, I believe, more like $7 at Walmart. A little pricier than I would have liked to have spent, but that's it. I'm not going to get any more pumpkins. I would rather go to a farm, and if I'm going to spend that anyway. But these orange pumpkins, like I said, were much, much cheaper. I would not find that for the sizes they are, and a lot of them are different shapes. It really was worth the price. The greenish one was definitely closer to what I would have paid on a farm, and honestly, they're getting even more expensive than that. But I really liked the little hint of green. I felt like it was a good deal, and it's really wonky shaped. I really like that. That's we've had that for a while.
Dusty Miller.
Thank you. The Dusty Miller, we had that and we repotted it earlier, and I kept it out because I think it's fall enough. I think it's really neat. I don't know how long it'll last. A couple of things that are going to change soon. Sorry about the rickety camera, folks. But the window boxes, the ones on the ends here, not the one in the middle I'm keeping, but the ones in the middle they will be coming out, which we've been putting off because we've had such uncharacteristic beautiful weather lately, and they're really still doing really well. The purpley flowers are still going strong. They're really vining over. I really love it, and I'm just holding on to that little bit left of summer. We still have beautiful peachy begonias still, and I really want to keep them up as long as I can. What's not doing as good and I'm not feeling so great about that, are our asters here. They were so beautiful in full bloom, beautiful purpley color, and I think they're just getting ready to kind of die out for the season. So I'm glad we started earlier and had them for a while, but we'll have to figure out what we're going to do to replace that as well. So we collected these sticks from the forest. I don't know if it'll show on the camera here, but they are really, really great branches. Really cool. But now, if these are like overgrown through everything, so it's okay to trim them a little bit, but I wouldn't normally just start randomly cutting good branches. I would normally collect dead branches, but if they were dead branches and they had been dried out, I would have spray painted them and then put like a shellac over it, some kind of a sealant over it, to make sure they were safe enough to go inside. But these are going to be outside, so we're just going to spray paint them black and leave them outside just to give it a little bit of a creepy Halloween feel on the porch. Does it feel good to be doing some stuff, Paul? It's looking really, really like eerie with the black paint. I'm loving it. It's great. How awesome that looks. Wait till you see it all up. It's going to be so neat. Awesome. Really loving how these are turning out. Really great.